Welcome to Watch Revolution. Today we're going to talk about the concept of capitalism. I'd really recommend you look into our basic videos explaining use value, exchange value, and surplus value to get a better idea on the foundations of capitalism. You can listen to this video by itself. However, we'll start here with just a basic understanding of capitalism. So we'll start off talking about how feudalism gave birth to capitalism and the contradictions that entailed. Next, we'll talk about capitalism's base and superstructure. You can understand the base as the economic foundation and the superstructure as the political system that rises out of the base. Finally, we'll talk about the political systems of capitalism and the nature of its class rule. This may seem excessive, but it's important to understand the political economy of capitalism as not simply the basic economics, which you found in previous videos. We should understand feudalism as a political and economic system that historically preceded capitalism. Economically, it consisted of peasants who grew everything, craftsmen who made everything, and merchants who traded for everything else. The military and ruling elites simply took what they wanted from the lower classes economically and backed up their theft by force of arms. Politically, they maintained the subjugation of the lower classes by a complex system of intermarriage, loyalty, and threats among the ruling class, the kings, the nobles, and the knights. However, that system wouldn't last forever. The capitalist class began to grow more and more powerful. Soon, the feudal system gathered together two of the most prominent emerging sectors of the economy. The merchants' power grew with the opening and plunder of the Americas. Industry grew in size and scope with the expansion of the workshop guilds. These two forms of capital, merchant capital based on the merchants and industrial capital based on the workshops, merged with other forms that were not capitalism, such as slavery and genocide, to create a mixed political system. The United States practiced slavery mixed with the capitalist form until the 1860s. England still has a monarch where the king enjoys all the privileges of feudal life and more. Some white South Afrikaners practiced feudalism until apartheid ended in the 90s. So we can see the old system exists with the new. Nevertheless, we need to understand the two parts of its political economy to begin to understand capital. One can understand the political economy as broken into two sections, the base and the superstructure. The base has two different parts. It consists of forces of production and relations of production. The forces of production mean the actual tools, machinery, infrastructure, and land. Relations of production mean how production is organized. For example, the relations of production cover how labor is done on a farm, a factory, or any industry. Let's give a similar example for each. Let's say someone works making furniture. They own their own shop, they own their own tools, they own their own shop space, and they own their own labor. These tools stay on their property at all times. Their relation to production is simple ownership and non-exploitation. Now imagine a furniture factory. In this case, the factory owner owns the shop, the tools, the lumber, and the fabric. Here the forces of production remain similar. Nevertheless, the factory owner has a different relationship of production where he divides the workers into different areas of production. One section of workers cut the wood, one section of workers sand and paint the wood. Finally, one section assembles the furniture. These relations of production are fundamentally different from a single woodworker who does all the work himself. We can understand these two different aspects by understanding the base. By the base, we mean the forces of production and the relations of production. One could understand the superstructure as all aspects of society that don't deal with production. This includes art, science, religion, culture, law, and politics. Most aspects of the superstructure serve to reinforce the base. Art, religion, and culture generally try to make economic base seem fine or justified. We know this from all of the art of the Middle Ages, which focuses on making the system of oppression seem justified through the church, which uses itself to justify the system as God's will. Science continues to expand the productive forces by growing human knowledge to make newer, better, and more efficient means of production. However, politics and law prove to be the strongest aspect of the superstructure. Politics and law provide the force to enact and maintain vagrancy and slave laws that force people to work. The police protect private property. Laws make it difficult or outright illegal to unionize workers. Politicians send the young overseas to murder and die in foreign land. One should understand that the superstructure arises from the base, but it does not simply follow the base. Laws preventing child labor come from the superstructure. Minimum wage laws come from the superstructure. One should understand that the base and the superstructure affect and change each other. We can understand both the base and the superstructure as being dialectically connected. Nonetheless, we should examine the capitalist rule of the most powerful aspect of the superstructure, the political system. The political rule of the capitalist class take many forms. Nonetheless, we should understand the capitalist class rule as a class. Let's go through a few examples. First, we should examine dictatorship. In a dictatorship, one person absolutely rules a country. The system may include many different factions, but the leader's control remains absolute. We see this in the case of Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, Augusto Pinochet in Chile, and Ferdinand Marcos in the Philippines. A dictatorship stands as one leader with absolute rule. Dictatorships are rare. One should understand oligarchy as a more common rule by the capitalist class. In an oligarchy, the capitalist class remains divided over what they think is the best course of action or set of policies. In the United States, one wing of the capitalists view anti-immigration as a better course of action because then they don't have to pay social welfare benefits. The other wing of the capitalist class supports immigration because it keeps workers' wages low by increasing the number of workers. One should know that oligarchies fall within a range. We can find oligarchies in Colombia, Israel, and of course, the United States. Democracy remains the final political form. In this case, one should understand democracy as general popular vote that actually considers individual voters' desires. In democracies, you don't see elites directly running the political system or parties of that system. However, you shouldn't get fooled by them having indirect political power as not having power. This sort of system remains just as firmly in the control of the capitalist ruling elites as any of the others. This includes countries like France, Denmark, and Sweden. One should remember that politically, these various systems have more or less popular interaction, but remain part of the capitalist political economy. If the entire mode of a system is capitalism, it doesn't fundamentally change the nature of capitalism if you have a one-man dictatorship or a multi-party democracy. So from here, we can see the basic nature of capitalism. We have a working idea of where it came from, what it is, and the process by which it continues to rule us. However, just as capitalism kept many feudal forms, the original form of capitalism has changed into many new and different forms, which we'll talk about in another video. This video has been brought to you by Capitalism. We're much better than feudalism. What about socialism, you say? Don't worry about it. Like and subscribe and share if you want. We'll catch you on the next one.